Each podcast is so enlightening for me. It's such a motivating part of my work to speak to people who are really defining the future of our industries. Now, Selma Rabbit works for a company called Vaeridion, and Veridian is in the concept phase developing a purely electric aircraft, and they've got a pretty funky battery technology that she's going to share with us. I've really thoroughly enjoyed this podcast, and I'm sure you will too. Before any further ado, we'll just switch over and listen to Selma tell us all about the great engineering work that she's doing at Veridian. Absolutely delighted that you could find time for us today. We're here with Selma Rabbit from Veridian, and you've agreed to take a little bit of time and tell us a little bit about your company. Before we go into the questions that we prepared, because we met at the ELA a few weeks ago in Berlin, but before we get to those prepared questions, I think you've got some really big news to share with us, right?
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me, Nick. I'm very excited to talk with you today. Farnborough was a really successful air show for us. We signed yesterday our collaboration with one of the global leaders in aerospace, GKN.
Wow.
Yeah, we're very excited.
How does that feel?
Yeah, we're very excited about that. Yeah. So they are very active in the new technology, also like in a sustainable way to reduce emission. They are very committed to this target as well. It's our vision too. And we are so happy, like they're also having different projects with eVTOLs, with Joby, Archer, Supernal, and so on. So they're very much committed to electric aviation. So are we, and that's why I'm very happy about this.
All right, well, let's pick up on that word electric. So that's the main thing, or not the main thing, but one of the core technologies that your company has designed and developed. And I think it's one of the things that makes you so valuable. Would you like to tell us a little bit about Veridian? But let's start with the electric side. What's happening in those wings?
Yeah, in those wings, fascinating stuff. So we are building a full electric aircraft. It's a 9-seater having a range of 4-kilometer IFR. So on top of that, you have reserves to go to alternate airport and holding time and so on. And what we are really focusing on is the whole propulsion. So from the batteries, which we are doing ourselves in-house, the high voltage batteries, up until the distribution and the motors. So we are having a special concept into how to integrate it. So it's a multi-engine single propeller aircraft that would allow us to perform commercial flights too.
And those batteries, they're actually integrated into the wing, like the fuel in a traditional legacy aircraft, right?
Yes, exactly. So it's a high wing configuration. And our core technology is really to integrate those batteries inside the wing, which is more natural in an aircraft. Yeah.
And like you see a lot of things these days in the press with electric bikes and scooters and stuff like that with them setting on fire. Now, at the end of the day, aviation fuel does burn as well, but there's a lot of public resistance and maybe concerns at the moment. So, do we need to be worried about having that many batteries on board an aircraft? Would it not be better to have hydrogen, for instance? Obviously, it can also, explode, but it can be contained in a different way.
Yes, exactly. So I don't see any reason why we should be concerned about batteries. So there are very high safety standards in aviation, and those safety standards are also applying to batteries. It's not because it's electric that it's less safe. Like the aviation, the regulations, they have a certain standard, and we will not go below it for electric flights. So, for example, the batteries, it's also fascinating in the development. So batteries are not allowed to let's say, like when there's a fire in a car, you would just park and get out of the car. In an airplane, you have to keep your flight until the end. You have to land and show that there's no fire until you land, basically. So we are fully containing any fire that is happening inside the batteries.
Okay, and I think that's one of your core technologies as well, is the way that you actually contain any outbreaks of fire, right? It's lots of different cells and not just one big cell, if I remember correctly.
Yes, exactly, yeah. So we are performing a lot of destructive tests. We are testing different materials. We are already we had our first collaboration with EASA. It's a pre-application contract, which also which guarantees our way to certification right now, to type certification. So yeah, that's fascinating to work on that technology. Yeah.
I can imagine. I mean, you really are. You're a pioneer of aviation. You know, it feels a lot like people that were kind of designing the first planes for the Wright brothers to test. I mean, they designed their own. But, you know, back in the day, people are trying to get something in the air. You guys are trying to find a completely different way of getting something in the air. It must be a fascinating time for an engineer. I believe you're an engineer. Is that correct?
Yeah, I am an electrical engineer. I had a few years of experience in the automotive before joining aviation. So I worked on full electric cars and hybrid cars also. But aviation has always been my endeavor. I've always wanted to be a pilot since I was 5 years old. So now it's the perfect combination. I'm a hobby pilot, so I have a PPL. I fly during my private time. And yeah, I have the chance to be an engineer and design electric aircraft.
And so you're telling me since the age of 5, you've had the ambition to have this career. Is that correct? So, I mean, that must be an amazing feeling to actually fulfill your dreams.
Definitely. Yeah. It's really fulfilling. It's really amazing to go every day to work and do something that I'm really passionate about in a team also that is passionate about aviation. So we are all we are all very excited about it. Everyone knows all the models, all the news and so on. And it's really nice to have this kind of environment and this kind of a passionate team to work towards a common goal, let's say.
Tell me about that team, if you wouldn't mind. How large is the team at the Veridian at the moment? I believe you're just coming up to your milestone for the concept phase PDR, but let's talk about the team first. What stage is your company in? We're not startup, we're certainly getting to scale up, I guess, but how would you describe yourselves?
Yeah, exactly. So we are roughly 30 people, and we developed the first prototypes. We've performed the first, like on the battery energy storage side, and also on the propulsion side, we've performed the first campaign on the motors and so on. So we are now ramping up. We are having the target to grow to 70 people. So it's an airplane or aircraft program, and it needs definitely more resources, and we are exactly now recruiting. So if anyone is hearing this,
I'm coming.
So yeah, it's feel free to apply, and we are really looking for passionate engineers. We are a Munich-based startup, and we would be happy to have more people. Yeah.
This is the only and a super short break in this podcast to say a thank you to our sponsors, which is my company, Progress Factors. You can find us on LinkedIn on the Progress Factors page or my own personal page, Nick Stamforth. If you'd like to reach out and speak to us, maybe you'd like to become a sponsor of this podcast series, maybe you've got a great story you'd like to tell us about how you're combining doing the right thing with earning more money and how you're helping to save the planet and create better places for people to work. We'd love to hear from you to create another podcast. And finally, it might also be that you just like some of our services to help you accelerate your own agenda and get to those goals and become more the company that you describe on your website in a quicker, easier and more fun way. We'd love to hear from you. But let's get back to the podcast. So you just mentioned the team at Veridian, that you're going to grow that team, you're going to double that team. It's always an exciting time in a company when lots more heads turn up. But what we're passionate about is why people want to work at places. So we often will meet companies where people have kind of forgotten the reason why they were so delighted to sign the contract. Now, I'm sure anyone who applies for your company will be over the moon when you say, yes, you've got the job, and they sign the contract. But a few weeks later, a lot of people are like saying, why did I come here? And then after a few months, you forget that you're passionate to do that job. Why are you passionate about your job, and what would the next person who applies to work at Veridian expect? You know, what makes your company so special? Is it just the Weisswurst and the Weissbier in Munich, or why do you stay?
Well, that's a big part of it. So of course, like the first encounter is the technology. I'm an engineer by heart, so I was attracted to the technology. But also there are much more aspects like the team spirits. We are really holding together as a team. We are like-minded people. We are passionate about what we are doing, and also it's a really nice atmosphere. Like we have every so and then team events. We do hikes together. We have summer parties. yeah, it's really nice, and we have also we participate in air shows, and it's there's no regular day. Like every day is different, and this is why I would invite everyone to apply. Yeah.
Excellent. Well, it certainly sounds like I'm going to be putting my application in later, but maybe tell us a little bit about the founders as well. I mean, who can say that they've got a 30-person company and just signed a deal with GKN? Not everyone does that. So, what was the passion? What was the dream of the founders? And what, how is it working with them? Do you have any interaction with these people? Or?
Yes, definitely. So, yeah, there's two founders, which is like our CEO, Ivar van Datel, and our CTO, Sebastian Zeeman. So they are both very passionate about aviation. They're also like a hobby pilot and glider pilot. We interact with them every day. We are also like very present. The whole team is very present at the office. They are very interested in like not only the team but also like the technology advancement and so on. So we are really aligning very regularly about it. And actually, yeah. Today is Ivor here in the Farnborough show. At ILA Berlin, there was also Sebastian Zeeman. So they're very much engaged in all the team activities, and we interact very often together. Yes.
That's really cool to hear. And tell me just a little bit more about your timeline. So I think we've got the PDR concept release is coming sometime next year, the beginning of next year, if I remember rightly. But maybe you could tell us when we'll be able to fly in one of your excellent aircraft.
Yeah. So we have a clear mission, and we designed our aircraft to meet those targets. So our mission, or our biggest objectives, is to make it into the market and within this decade. So to be able to do that by 2029, entry into the market, we have
We'll put a man on the moon, or
exactly, yes. Okay. So we have a very, very focused and clear target to get to, and for this we started everything to set up that right. Like you mentioned already, a PDR would be next year. And after that, we would have like some flight testing, 2027. We have also like bigger test rigs coming up next year to validate our concept and so on. We had already our first successful pre-application contract with the EASA, with some binding, with some engagement on our type certificate. And yeah, I think that's why we are passionate about this, because everyone in the team thinks it's feasible. So we are coming from the lower end. Like we are certifying a relative simple aircraft, a CS-23. We know already the certification basis. We know what we have to do exactly on the key technology. We've done so much de-risking that we are sure that we are getting it basically right on the timeline. Yeah.
Well, I certainly believe you. It sounds like GKN believes you as well. So that's going to get you easily from Frankfurt to Munich, but it's probably going to be Frankfurt to Paris as well, and maybe to Gothenburg.
Yeah, exactly. So we did route analysis with our aircraft. So it's basically very efficient aerodynamically. The wings are very large. They are 24 meters, which is very high aspect ratio for this.
It's basically a glider with an electric propulsion, right?
That's it. It's a glider with an electric propulsion. So yeah, we can access almost all the regional aircraft, because this 24 meters is basically the limit of operation of those small airports, let's say. And for example, even for Mannheim, we have 67 destinations that we can reach.
So 67 destinations from Mannheim. My son studied in Mannheim. I know exactly that airport. So that's fantastic. Now, you also mentioned a collaboration with Copenhagen, and I think, Progress Factors is all about collaboration. Yeah. My favorite product and service that we offer to our clients is something called Progress times 5, where we get 5 companies similar to yours to be in a gamified competition for 5 months to deliver the most progress. And it's all about collaboration. They also have a joint goal that they head together with as well. But maybe you could tell me a little bit about the whole ecosystem approach, because I think that's something that really is a USP of Veridion, is the approach that you're taking there, right?
Yes, exactly. So, we are participating in different ecosystems, and that's what we want to emphasize too, is that collaboration is really important. I think we are starting this at the right point. We are also talking to regional airfields, also like to agree, for example, on the charging infrastructure, how much kilowatts they need to have there. So it's I think this is the best thing, that we have a whole ecosystem, like from regional airlines to airfields, customers, and everyone is working toward this common goal. And I think this is collaboration is key here. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think, I think we'll get pretty much all our problems solved if we work closer together. We always say that everything we need to save the planet has already been invented.
Yeah.
And I know that you guys work with partner companies as well. It's not a do-it-yourself project here.
Yeah.
You're doing some specific things yourselves. But if we work closer with other people, I think that we'll easily hit our decarbonization goals. Yeah. And we're already been over 1.5 degrees warmer for over 12 months now. So really, it's time for us to actually deliver on promise. And I'd be passionate if we could maybe limit that to 1.5 degrees by 2040 and not talk about 2.4 by 2050 as some politicians are doing these days.
I totally agree. Yeah, I totally agree.
Well, listen, is there any other company that you've seen here at the show in Farnborough that you would suggest we should go and speak to, or that somebody else should go on the website and look at? Is there anything that really is fascinating for you at the show?
Well, there's a lot of companies I would check. There's a lot of eVTOL companies. There's like also from the supplier side, like a lot of new technology, like a clean composite also. So I'm very impressed, like by all the companies. I would recommend you. I couldn't pick. It's a really hard job to pick, because it's impressive how much innovation there is right now and how much stuff is going on in electric aviation. Yeah.
All right. Well, that's absolutely excellent. I can tell you that the pesto crepes are fantastic at the trade fair as well. But tell me one more thing as well. What sort of companies should be approaching Veridian? What's the kind of support and collaboration you need from other people? Or what customers should be getting in touch with you so that they can invest early and maybe benefit from your aircraft and technologies as you go along? I assume that you will benefit a lot more from your technologies than just in aircraft wings. It sounds like you're really developing something that could be used all over the place.
Yeah, definitely. So like we are also in the phase of selecting the partners and supplier for the long term. Like until PDR, we want to select our key suppliers. So we are very much open to anyone that would like to participate in this initiative. I think it's really crucial now to talk about everything I mentioned already. Like there's a technological part on the the airplane design, but also there's so much collaboration to do, like on the regulatory side, on the charging infrastructure, on the regional airfields, on the regional airliners too. So I would invite everyone to get in touch and to really discuss what are the next steps together and really lay the ground for electric aviation.
And what's the best way to get hold of you guys? Is it go to the website and info at, or is it over LinkedIn, or are you a Facebook company? What's the best way to contact Veridian if somebody wants to speak to you?
Yeah, so we are very, very active, like on LinkedIn, also on the website, like we respond to the
inquiries.
Requests, and yeah, definitely. Yeah. So feel free to contact us on the website or on LinkedIn. We would be very happy to respond to get back to you.
Selma Rabbit, thank you so much for finding the time to speak to us today, and good luck with everything that's going on.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for the invitation and for the interview.
Cheers.
Cheers.
So I do hope you enjoyed listening to that podcast as much as I enjoyed actually interviewing the people that we spoke to today. As we mentioned halfway through the film, if you'd like us to support you and accelerate your own sustainability agenda, or if you'd maybe like to sponsor this podcast, or if you just got something you'd like to chat to us about, which maybe could become the next podcast, then please do go over to either our LinkedIn profile. You can find us at Progress Factors, or my own LinkedIn profile is Nick Stanforth. Or you could also just go over old school to our website, which is www.progressfactors.com. Thanks for listening, and tune in for the next podcast as they keep being released.